Good afternoon. I'm Monisa Klein here at the GBTA broadcast studio. And joining me today is Mr. Will Pinnell, who is the Senior Vice President and Managing Director for HRS Americas. Will, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you.
Yes.
It's great to have
Yes.
you. And so you've been with HRS now for...
Yes, this is a relatively new role for me.
Yes.
I've been here just almost a year, not quite, but it's exciting to be back at GBTA and seeing all of the buzz at this year's convention.
Yeah, and there is a lot of buzz.
There is.
A lot of excitement, a lot of
Yes.
things happening in the industry.
That's right.
So
That's
it's a
right.
good time to be here,
It
right?
is. Yes.
So speaking of HRS, it's a technology-focused company serving corporate hotel
Yes.
programs and large corporate hospitality ecosystem, right?
That's right.
With each passing quarter, we hear more and more about how AI in machine learning is impacting corporate travel procurement, booking, and payment.
Yes.
Can you tell us the trends you see with AI and the
Sure.
different ways corporate travel programs are seizing the possibilities that AI is providing?
Well, to start, it's hard to be here at GBTA without walking up and down the aisles and seeing artificial intelligence and AI sprinkled on almost every booth. There's some element of what companies are trying to do and harness the power of machine learning and trying to look at these historical data sets and try to make sense of them. Our problem a little bit with the industry is that you have data in all these different silos. And what artificial intelligence promises is how do you take that data and make meaningful use of it to be predictive and start to make your jobs a little easier and to make it more predictive in what you would expect to happen. And so we're seeing that at HRS through some of our own technologies we're building with lodging as a service that allows companies to more easily procure hotels, book hotels, and then reconcile hotels. A lot of those things are actually relatively complicated today and require a lot of manual work. Artificial intelligence, I think, gives us the ability to automate some of those things and make it easier.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned, it's interesting because you mentioned you see it walking on the
Yes.
expo floor, right?
Yes.
And so people don't realize, I mean, AI is already here, it's been here, right? And
Yes.
it's kind of now what's the next step? What's
Yes.
the next?
Yeah, I mean,
You
I
know?
think that now that it's here, you're going to start to see kind of data patterns start to emerge. So one of the things about AI is it typically requires large sets of data in order to be predictive. And part of our problem with the pandemic is that it was so disruptive
Yeah.
and travel patterns changed so substantially that you don't have really great data models to look backwards on. And so now that we are in 2024 and we've started to see travel
Trends.
fully recover, now I think you're starting to see models emerge which are easier to make some sense of as it relates to looking at patterns. And again, the patterns that have really shifted isn't just around kind of the technology, but it's the people. And you know,
Yeah.
maybe we can talk about that, but the fact that people are geographically dispersed in different ways and come together for meetings makes it harder to predict what do corporate travel patterns
Right.
look like, because not everybody is centrally located in hub cities like they were in the past.
Yeah. And there's a lot more hybrid work models, right? So
The hybrid work models, the office spaces,
Yep.
it lends itself well for meetings.
Right, exactly. There
and
dun-dun-dun.
so yeah, I mean, I think that you know, we've seen this emergence of more and more small meetings taking place. And you know, you look at something like this is a really big meeting. You've got these investments all over North America where major cities are investing in their convention centers. They're doubling down on that space. In fact, I think the statistics show that small meetings, which a small meeting would be less than 50 people, that's 70 to 80% of meetings now are these small meetings where people are coming together. And I think to your point, it's driven largely by these different buying patterns and sort of where people live. And it's interesting because in the past, when you wanted to meet with your colleagues, of course, you just go into the office for the day. Everybody was located in the same place. Now you're starting to see people having to fly in from different places, and they're not having to work in the office. They might be having a meeting in a hotel room, which might necessitate a few rooms at a hotel, and all of a sudden you have a small meeting. And so the emergence of small meetings has just blown up over the last few years. I think there was this prediction that, after the pandemic, that Zoom was just going to replace all of these small meetings. But the reality is that Zoom has replaced phone calls it hasn't replaced
Yeah.
the meetings that people need face to face. And I think, of course, that's the beauty of business travel, is
That's
connecting
right.
people face to face and creating that human interaction, which we all need. Yes.
Absolutely. And I like that. Zoom has replaced phone calls.
Yes, that's right.
Good line. I like that. So is technology keeping pace with the demand for more automation to handle more legacy and manual tasks typically associated with sourcing and executing a corporate meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole idea of sourcing a meeting has been challenging. You know, it often requires someone who's planning a meeting, whether that's a dedicated meeting planner or it's a travel executive or admin, to actually call up or use online tools and do that in a variety of different ways with a variety of different providers. It's time consuming, it's cumbersome, and then you have to kind of sit and wait for the results to come back. And you know, increasingly we live in a world where everybody wants everything on demand.
Right.
In the same way that you would book a hotel instantly, people want to be able to book meetings instantly. And so it's actually one of the reasons we've built the technology. In fact, we're debuting it this week at GBTA, which is our meetings as a service technology. It correlates with our lodging as a service technology. It allows companies to easily book small meetings, simple meetings, where it's just a few people gathering together. And we think that's really going to help with what we call the convergence, which is how do you take your transient spend with your small meeting spend and bring that together in a way which makes sense. Then you can look at the data holistically, you can then measure it, and you can negotiate with suppliers and more accurately represent your volume that you're driving.
And I want to share the past 2 days, there's been a lot of conversations here about integrating the two pieces of,
Yes.
you know, the travel and the meetings
Yes,
side of it. So
the convergence piece is really interesting. In fact, HRS last year, in association with GBTA, we did a study and we went out and we asked travel buyers, what do you think about this? 54% of travel buyers came back and said they thought that convergence, if it was part of the RFP process, would help drive savings. And then last year, since we did that survey, we've seen 18% of our customers starting to, in fact, do that. They've integrated that as part of their program. And then we've started to see results. It's still a little early, but we've seen savings of about 5% on the total spend when you're able to negotiate your small meetings and your transient stay at the same time, because you're starting to aggregate that demand into a larger pile of hotel rooms, which, you know, everybody likes to see the total volume, not just pieces from a TMC or pieces from, you know, a meeting provider.
More of a holistic approach.
A holistic view, right? And I think that's what ultimately travel buyers, they want to provide.
That's what they want,
They want to see what is the total spend. Most of the travel buyers that you talk to, when you ask them, what's your total hotel spend? By default, they'll almost always give you that transient number. But the reality is that transient number is only about 60% of the total spend. Some of it is leakage, where the corporates are going direct. Some of it is the small meetings. Some of it is large meetings. And then a lot of it is also longer stays, what we would call kind of workforce, or where you have someone going out spending 8 or 10 nights in a particular property. And in those cases, they don't typically call their travel agency. They'll call the hotel directly and try to negotiate a lower rate for a longer stay. And so we're building some technology and starting to preview it today, but we'll be talking about it more this fall around how we solve for that use case, which is longer stay.
Excellent.
Yes.
Wow. Lots happening.
It is. Yes. Yes.
So HRS has been very vocal about companies leaving too much money at the hotel negotiating table, which we're kind of talking about that already.
Yes.
You and your team think more advanced data can unlock newfound savings for corporate hotel programs, right? What trends do you see that inform that outlook? And given the current economic climate in North America, how do you see more companies leveraging their hotel data to secure better pricing and amenities?
Yes.
How does this
that's a big question.
It's a big nut, yeah.
But I think that the reality is that most corporations, they are overspending on their hotel programs. They just, and some to the tune of millions of dollars. And they're doing that largely because of these legacy models that exist between their existing travel providers and intermediaries in the ecosystem. There's a lot of supplier income. There's money that is on the table. And so one of the things that I think we're starting to see is travel buyers are starting to demand more transparency in how these rates are not only negotiated, but then how they're displayed to their travelers. And so when we see companies coming to HRS to look for savings, typically we can save 18 to 22% over existing hotel programs, largely because we're taking what the corporation wants, which is preferred properties, certain negotiated amenities, what we would refer to as attributes-based buying, personas, and we're starting to put together a procurement package and process that makes it easier for them to then go and negotiate with their suppliers. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities for companies today to start using the data, using AI, using some intelligence to better negotiate and understand where their travelers are staying and what their travelers want.
Well, Will, in the short amount of time that you've been there, you certainly have a good grasp and handle on the issues and the opportunities, which I think is so exciting.
Thank you.
So,
yes.
Good.
Yes. It's great talking with you.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for spending a few minutes with me today.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
And great to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
I'm Monisa Klein here at the GBTA Broadcast Studio.